Welcome to the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce News and Views Show. I'm your host, Diane Sawyer, President and CEO of the Reidsville Chamber. Today's guest I have with us, City of Reidsville, Jason Hardin. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Thanks, Diane. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
I know. I'm glad to have you too. I know that we have worked together on several things lately, it seems like, and so I am always thankful for our partnership with the City of Reidsville.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I've told people in my 13 years, like I have grown from coming on board and not knowing anybody to now having texting relationships with all of the city admin team and being able to work with them. So ultimately, we all have the same goal, a better Reidsville and a better community. And so you are doing some really exciting things, and I wanted to bring you on and talk about how that's going. So tell us who you are, what your department is, what that looks like, what you're in charge of, and then we'll jump into some of the cool things that are happening.
Sure, be glad to. And thank you for saying it's exciting. I really appreciate that. So I'm the Planning and Community Development Director for the City of Reidsville. I oversee the Planning Division, the Inspections Division, that's building inspections, and then the Code Enforcement Division. That's the three divisions that I oversee. Also over city building maintenance and landscaping and lots of fun things like that. So on the side, a lot going on. Especially, I know a lot of people have heard a lot about the Unified Development Ordinance, or UDO as everyone's calling it. So just a lot going on. I know there's been a lot of businesses coming downtown, which we're really excited about, and we're hoping that through our development code that we can kind of accommodate that and make sure that we're moving in the right direction that, the city wants to move in and our citizens want to move in. So, yeah, we're really excited about everything that's going on right now.
Yeah, so let's break down what all that fun stuff means.
It's a lot, yeah.
It is, and it's like, on the one hand, it's funny, you're welcome for saying it's exciting, because I do think it's exciting because I understand what it means. I understand what infrastructure has to be in place for us to get to where we want to go. And I think that Reidsville as a city, Reidsville Council, like we have been a very progressive city for a number of years, all the way back to the lake, selling water to Greensboro, our utility rates, being able to build and continue to grow and repair and do the things and have the foresight to have infrastructure so that we can, when we're doing economic development projects, that we are able to offer those things to people. So I do think that it's exciting because one of the things that I've heard, and this is, something that Summer and the whole team is working, one of the things that I've heard is I don't understand, or I don't know, or how, why, and what it comes down to is that, Summer said, hey guys, like, let's look at figuring this out. Like, what does this look like? How can we become more, almost from like a customer service standpoint, like how can we become more user friendly? Because we've got this great big document that's just been edited and added to, and how do we turn that into a better new, has not been updated since the 80s? How do we bring it to 2024? So tell us what that means. Like, what does UDO mean? What is what we're talking about? Like, why is that project so important? Why is it kind of expensive? Why is it time consuming? What does that mean?
Sure. So, in the most basic way that I can explain it. So a Unified Development Ordinance, currently we have zoning, subdivision, and floodplain protection ordinances. They're separate books. So that's one book apiece. So Unified Development Ordinance is just a word for basically combining your development code, which when I say development code, I'm referring to those three documents, into one. So for ease of reference, because they're so interrelated, it's just a best practice that cities across the state have been employing to just make things as accessible as possible and to make sure that things are clear. And like you said, looking over our ordinance and making sure that everything is clear, that's one of our chief objectives, is to make sure that everything is transparent, that the process is laid out, and that we're making things user-friendly and that it's easily understood for people who don't read legal documents and legalese and everything. You want to make sure that you can understand what's being conveyed into it and that everything's clear. That's one of our main goals with the rewrite.
Yeah, so when you say clear, and you just explained it so very well, when you say clear, and I think about, I think for years it's almost been like the interpretation of like, how do you read it and interpret it, because you're the one that's in charge of it and making sure that it happens. But if somebody else were reading it, they may not interpret it the same way. And so I think you were trying to make it very like as black and white as possible, as concise and clear.
And that's definitely something that we're trying to do. So, and that's one thing with the length. So don't judge a document by its length. So people who want more clarity, who want more, this is just what I have to do, just make sure that it's clear to me. That's going to be a longer document. It's just unavoidable. So when we're looking at making the UDO, it's going to be laid out. So we're reducing that interpretation, because I know how people feel when it's like, oh, well, I read this differently. We want to make sure that it's just clear cut and bullet points as much as we can, avoiding long prose, like long paragraphs, and just making sure that, it's clear. But it may not be overall very short, but when you read it, it will be much clearer. So that's definitely something that we're aiming to do here. And our consultant, Code Right planners, who we've brought on board, who evaluated our whole development code, they've championed that in all of the codes that they've written, is making things clear and plain, and also incorporating a procedures manual. That's another thing that's gone on the side that we can make short, that can be less than 50 pages long, that will incorporate all of the flow charts and things that will be in the ordinance into the manual, so that anyone can read the procedures manual, and then hopefully it will be clear. But if it's not, we're always here to answer questions. We love helping people. So,
and you've really done a phenomenal job of helping people. And every time that I call and I have a question, or I don't understand, or I'm trying to get all three sides of the story and just try to help somebody get to their end goal, you guys have been awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
It's been so much fun to kind of start to see things shape up and be a little more current. And one of the most exciting things, I think, was when I've heard you speak about the UDO before, you were explaining, and correct me at any point, if I'm wrong, but you were explaining that it's going to be online and have like foot markers. So like if you are trying to get to a section, it will take you directly to that if you click on the link. Or
so right now we have all the articles in like PDFs online. So you have to go to the PDF, you have to scroll through it. One thing that Code Right does with their development codes is that it will be a cohesive document. So when you go to the table of contents, if you want to go to Article 3, you click on the number and it takes you right to it. So it's made to be online. So not to say you can't get a hard copy. We would of course provide a hard copy to anybody who would like it. But it will be made to be online like that, so that it's easily navigable and you can just easily find the information that you're looking for.
How does it help your department when you are, like, when this is done, what does that look like for you in helping your department? And when you need to take things to council or to the planning board and they're looking at things, like, how is that going to help make the process better for businesses, better for you? Like, what does that look like?
Sure. So I think it's just making everyone being on the same page and understanding that this is the ordinance's requirement, that it's clear, that no one's making anyone do anything extra that they're not supposed to or don't have to. So as far as zoning and then subdivision and so forth goes. So I think it just makes everyone kind of more aware of everything, especially with doing a full rewrite. Like, it helps getting everyone looking at everything, and then we can view it all, and everyone can be on the same page. And as far as helping businesses go, so really with zoning and everything, what we can do to help is more so, especially particularly with downtown, is just permitting the businesses that people want downtown. And I think we've already started doing that, especially with the text amendments that we did. We did about 15 of them last year. So we're trying to get more businesses downtown, more mixed use downtown.
Can you explain that? Can you explain what a text amendment is?
Yes,
maybe for somebody who doesn't
absolutely.
know?
So a text amendment is an individual amendment to the legal document, to the ordinance. So that's changing one specific section. It's not an overall change. It's just that one particular part that you're changing. So what the rewrite's doing is we're going through everything. So the whole document it's going to look completely different. It's going to, now some individual things that we don't need to change, they may be carried forward in places. But overall it's going to look different. Like, some sections will be completely which is just not like what they are now. Or some things in the case of like, we're adding a whole section on applications. So there's going to be who makes the decision on each approval, like is it city council with a rezoning? Is it, the board of adjustment with a variance? And then there will be a flow chart for every single process. There's about 33 decision processes. And then it's going to be, I start here, I go to here, and then it goes to here. And then we can incorporate that into the procedures manual that I mentioned earlier. So
I'm kind of geeking out. Like, I'm very excited about this. And I know this probably sounds crazy, but like, and my ultimate goal at the end of the day is to be able to help people get to like achieve their dreams
absolutely.
or figure their stuff out. So I can't wait till it's all finished and I can sit down with it and be like, okay, like what do I need to glean from this? How can I help? And, one of the other really cool things that our city manager has done that I am, just blown away about her foresight and how she figures things out and works with the team is, we talked at length, as most people are really familiar with, if you're familiar with the city or the staff or have been for any number of years, that we lost a really, really integral piece of the team with Judy Yarbrough's passing in December. And it was just a big hit for the city. She had just a number of years and wealth of knowledge and it was just gone. And so the team really struggled with how are we going to do this? Because we can't replace Judy. It's not possible. No. And so, there was all this discussion and Summer met with the team and she met with council and she and I talked about it a lot. And so long story, she kind of drug her feet a little bit because she wasn't sure. She kept saying, well, we're going to fix it. And then she wasn't there yet. And she finally arrived there when she had an epiphany and said, I have a way I want to restructure it because we're not getting anywhere with the economic development director. We're not getting, we're not going to be able to replace Judy. Let's just restructure.
Sure.
And very excited to announce that you guys have hired someone and they're going to get started soon. And you have a new director of economic development and marketing.
We do.
And then they are going to hire a business development manager. And this is all going to go together with the UDO and all the things that are going to happen. And there's some really big changes coming.
A lot, yeah. That's very true.
And I just think that, her foresight to... And so she and I are a lot alike, and I think she'd be okay with me saying all that because we both, when we know we haven't quite hit it, we'll procrastinate and keep talking and keep trying to figure it out. And I was so proud of her for figuring out like what we needed because that is what we need, and it's going to be so cool and so exciting.
Yeah, all credit to our city manager and our city council
for sure
for investing in this amendment and just this new code and all the changes that we're looking at making. So just credit to them. Thank you for supporting us.
Well, I'm a firm believer in that everything happens for a reason and that timing is everything. And so I always tell her, I'm like, well, I was later with this than I wanted to be, but then I feel like it worked itself out. It was the kind of the same thing with the Cash Your Chips In series. Had been talking to the previous economic development director for years about, hey, we need to partner on this event. We need to bring businesses and realtors and landowners and all these people in the same room. And some things have come out of that. Mount Jubilee was able to purchase that tract of land that they got. There were all these different connections. And some of that, I think is what sparked this conversation about the UDO, about how we just kept talking about how do we fix this? How do we bring us today? Yeah,
and it really started with our land development plan. So the land development plan was adopted in the summer of 2022, and the number one objective or goal in that to implement it was to revise the development code. So that was already identified back in the summer of 2022. So it's been in the pipeline.
For a while, and it's coming to fruition. So when do you think all of that will be accomplished? What's our target goal?
We're shooting for the end of the year. The end of the year is my goal. If we can get it before council for adoption by the end of the year, that would be fantastic.
We would be celebrating.
Yeah. So that's what we're aiming for, and the consultant says that that's realistic right now. So that's the goal.
That's awesome. Well, and meanwhile, we've got a new person coming on board, so that's exciting. And then they'll be hiring somebody else. So I'm excited because we have such a great working relationship with the city and just trying to make all the things. We're currently working on a business who there was some hiccups, and again, no fault of the chamber, no fault of the city, the business, and just ignorance, and she has said ignorance is bliss. Like they were brought along by a landlord and didn't have correct information. And so when I had an aha moment of, oh no, we're going to have some issues. And so you guys have been awesome to, be a resource and lay out what has to happen and let's figure it out. And so I just wish more people understood that, call the chamber, call the city. We're all glad to help you. We're here to help you. Like, we will figure it out.
Yeah, and that's why.
As best we can.
Absolutely. And for any business, downtown, across the city, if you ever have any questions, please reach out to our office. We will be glad to help you any way that we can. And, taking secondhand information is not always the best way to go. And please just reach out to us and let us help and just make us a part of your plans. And we're, always want to see Reidsville grow and prosper and everyone, succeed and everything. That's what we're here for. So
I gave out that number. I give out that number more than I can. That's one that's in my brain, and it comes out more than I can count, really.
Sure.
But my hope is, and I'm sure because you are a super smart guy and have your plans. My hope is that once, because the city's got all these great websites and great links and features, my hope is that we are moving towards, especially with marketing and economic development director on board, my hope is that when these things are complete, they'll be kind of like neon signs, like click here to get what you need, right? And that we're going to have the ability to have like the flow charts and the things, because the guides on how to do business, like we've always kept those things here when we had like updated copies. So I'm really excited because that's the first thing I tell people. I'm like, if you're going to do anything with business, you have to call community development. That one really, and the one that I'm speaking of, that one slipped through the cracks because that particular owner was looking at purchasing a building. And when they transitioned from not purchasing to leasing, she lost her mind a little bit and did not transfer over. And so that's where it slipped through the cracks. And it's okay because it's a learning experience. And even for me, I think it's attuned my listening ear to be a little more precise into what things that I hear. So I think that there's some really cool things happening. And speaking of that, like you were able to participate in a Leadership Rockingham class this year, which is our first one back since the pandemic.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that has wrapped up, and tell us a little bit about that. You met some folks and toured some things. And I
did, yeah. It was a great time. I learned a lot about the county, seeing some stuff around the county I haven't seen before. So meeting a lot of people, especially the relationships were great to get to know people and learn more about leadership and learn more about the county overall. So yeah, it was a great experience. That's
my favorite thing, and I learn something every time. Like every year, when we tour something new or have a different person or even the same person, you don't say the same thing every time you redo something. And so I learn so much every time. And one of my favorite pieces, I feel like, and obviously I have a lot of pride for the City of Reidsville Day. One of my favorite things that we do, when we're learning, we go out on, the lake, and we learn about how the lake is an economic driver for us and how that works. And so it's so cool to hear about it.
Absolutely, yeah. Love to see all the sites around the county.
Well, it's funny. It also is a reminder to me of things of past because I can't hold everything that happens. But like the spillway, it was a reminder. I was like, oh yeah, we did replace the spillway, and that was this big deal. And I had forgotten we had done that. So I like to go out and see all the things. And, Parks and Rec, I'll tell you, they have had a couple of years because on a previous show, we were just talking about the all-inclusive park and how cool that is. And then haven't even gotten to talk about Splash Pad. I haven't had a show since the Splash Pad was open, and that place is jamming like on a regular.
Yeah, they're opening quicker than you can talk about it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, for sure. And so, just excited about that. The Chamber's going to have the ice cream social down there, so I think that's going to be fantastic. A fun time. But you guys are just really just on top of it, but also just doing all the things that needed to happen. And you're putting in the hard work. So it's exciting, but it's work. And I mean, but I don't know if you're like me, but I like a challenge. And so you're...
That's why I'm a planner.
Well, one reason. That's what I figured. And so... is there anything else about the UDO that you want to tell us?
Excuse me. Overall, yeah, just looking at everything, and it's a process. We're currently working on a full draft. The consultant is drafting. So as far as the process going forward, looking to have a draft done by August. So yeah, just tune into our website, rebootreidsville.com, for updates. That's the consultant maintains that for us, and he puts all the project updates on there. So follow us there. And
I did not know that. We'll have to promote that. That's awesome.
Yep.
So rebootreidsville.com. Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, so speaking of code and zoning and all the things that are happening, one of the things that you and I have discussed was that the all of the infrastructure that's so important, one of the things that happened was the streetscape project.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's so beautiful. And so now we've done phase 2 on Settle Street. And there's so much really cool stuff happening. So people are getting their paint grants, and we've had some people purchase buildings and people update buildings, and they're painting or they're, taking down awnings, and just some really pretty buildings and some really cool stuff happening.
Yep. And it's a domino effect. You see that a lot of times when you change one thing and make it look nicer. People are looking at their stuff and they're like, oh, well, I need to paint that. So yeah, it's been fantastic. We're very happy about the streetscape and what it's doing for our downtown. It
is definitely more walkable. There's definitely more. I know the chamber, we have more space outside of our door, so we've added some big planters and ferns and things, and I just like having the ability, and we can throw up a sandwich board, and when we're doing the events, or like the Rocket in Reidsville event, or so it's just kind of nice it's almost like a front porch, which is what we're designed to be anyway. So I love that people are, and gosh, with the boutique and the bakery, like our corner is just super busy, like especially on Thursday, Friday, we are jamming down here. But I think it's, now's the time. I mean, what's what we said during Cash in Your Chips, now is the time. A casino that's steadily growing, building. I mean, they've got people going to the tent, but when the hotel rooms are available and all that becomes a reality, and the Blue Shield, I mean, the DOT's working really hard on getting those overpasses and getting all that up to code and making sure that we are almost there. So if you want to be a part of the growth, now's the time. Now's the market. Get your land, do whatever it is you're going to do, because, I mean, we're just going up from here. Working on the housing. That's a big part that you guys have been working on.
And so housing, and that in our land development plan, that was one thing that I know that you hear a lot about the housing crisis right now on the news outlets and everything. It's been a crisis in Reidsville long before it made it to the 24-hour news cycles. And in our land development plan, one thing that we planned for was, expanded housing, and we're seeing that happen slowly. Lots of things in plan review. I know that our city manager was talking about all the houses that are all the residential development that's planned for the future, and so
we got some stuff happening right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're building right now. They're clearing off for the apartments off of Holiday Loop, and a couple of other things that we're still finishing up plan review on. So hopefully over the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to see a lot of development around here as far as residential goes, and then the commercial follows that.
Absolutely. Well, and that's, like you said, the housing has been a crisis in Reidsville for some time, and in Rockingham County for some time. We've had these large industries move in, and there's nowhere for the people to go. And they're living in Greensboro, living in Virginia, living, wherever, especially like top execs and stuff, not being able to find what they were looking for. So it's been going on for a while here. And then, of course, one of the things that we are, partnering on and hearing about, and we just hosted with the city and the chamber, is the childcare crisis. And so that plays effect. And again, in your department, if somebody wanted to open a daycare, or if somebody, there's all these pieces that we are all trying to work together, again, because at the end of the day, to make a better community. But they all affect economic development. The housing, the childcare, the schools, all of those things, because we need those to be able to recruit these larger industries. And, the chamber tries to celebrate the current things that we have, because we have some really great things going on, not just from the city side, or not just from the small businesses and the merchants, but on the industry side. We talk a lot about how people hear the names of the industries, but like Pella's easy because you're like, okay, windows and doors, like check, got that. But like Hennigan's Automotive, they have no idea. And I'm like, if you see a Ford F-150, most likely there were pieces that were made right here in Reidsville. Or the BMW series that they do, and so we talk about these industries that, and farming is easy because it's pet food. But again, as Chad likes to call it, it's the bougie pet food. And it is the high end stuff. And they're very particular about how they do things. So it's so cool to learn. And that ties back to leadership too. Like the more we know and the more we're connected, the more we're able to be, a better, partner and a better communicator of all the things that are happening. So it was nice to have you on today in place of Summer and to be able to talk in depth about some of the things that are happening.
Absolutely. I was glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad that you were here too. Is there anything that we need to cover from your department, because we're about out of time, that we didn't hit?
Sure. One other thing that I did want to mention, so I am working with the county steering committee on an update to our Rockingham County Transportation Plan with NCDOT. That's the North Carolina Department of Transportation. So that's ongoing, and we have a survey out right now. There are QR codes posted at City Hall, also at the library, the post office, to where you can scan it and fill it out online. Or if you would like a hard copy, please come to City Hall. And we can get you a hard copy to fill out. But we're looking for public input on transportation improvements across the county, but things in Reidsville as well. So if you know of places that are transportation issues, please fill out our survey, and we're really looking for public input on that plan update.
Awesome. We will take note of that and make sure that we get it out on social channels. And I'm pretty sure we just got it to put in the newsletter, so we'll make sure that we take care of that too.
And there's a link on the city's Facebook page, so you can actually go there and click the link and go directly to it.
We will go share that too, because we need to get that word out. That's important. And I mean, people want to have their voices heard, so there's an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we are out of time, so does that cover everything maybe for today as we are?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
As far as I know.
Well, thank you for being on the show, Jason. I always appreciate it. I love talking to you and hearing about the things that you guys are doing. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Diane. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, folks, that is it. As always, you can find us in the heart of downtown Reidsville at 140 South Scale Street. You can find us at reidsvillechamber.org and on all of our social media channels. That's it for today. Stay tuned. We'll see you real soon.